y'all, and welcome back to YoungFolkKnits. If you're new here, my name is Casey, and this is a channel where I share all about my passion for fiber arts. Today, I'm chatting a lot about my Hey Sailor top that I've recently finished. I even sewed some pants to go with it. And then I'm going to chat a little bit about where I want to go with my knitting from here. So let's start with the Hey Sailor top. This was such a fun test knit, y'all. I had a blast knitting this. So let me share a little bit about the pattern itself. This is a pattern that was designed by Andrea Mowry, and it was designed specifically for the Insta Friends Knit Along. This is a yearly knit along, which is hosted by Jess Povenmire, who owns La Mercerie, a yarn store in Bainbridge Island. It's also hosted by one of her dear friends, which I believe she met during a knit along. They became quick friends and yearly had their own little knit along, which included knitting a Andrea Mowry pattern. In recent years, Andrea Mowry now actually designs a pattern for the knit along specifically. This year, it was the Hey Sailor top. And I think it is so cute. It's a drop shoulder tee actually, but it is knit flat and it buttons up the back. It's made to be reversible, so you can wear the buttons in the front or the back, but I really think it adds an elevated touch to have them in the back, and I think that that was the original intent. It has short sleeves, like I said, drop shoulder. It has shoulder shaping, which is done in the ribbing, a boat neck, and 9 buttons down the back. It is knit in mosaic color work. If you're new here, we are currently in the middle of the YFK Mosaic Mayhem knit along. So if you feel like double dipping and you would like to participate in the Insta Friends knit along, but also in the YFK Mosaic Mayhem knit along, this is the perfect pattern because it is mosaic. This was designed in Knitting for Olive cotton merino. Now that's a fingering weight yarn that is 70% cotton and 30% merino, I believe. And I absolutely love this yarn. It's not hard on my hands like 100% cotton. It's so smooth. It has a lovely texture and feel to it. It has great drape. And when you block it, that merino in it just blooms. It's such a lovely yarn. I also like the price point. It's not crazy expensive. And you don't need a lot of it because this is a short sleeve top. So I knit the size 5. And I will say, first of all, that you definitely need to check your measurements. I normally knit a size 5 in Andrea Mowry patterns, and I went ahead and knit a size 5 this time, but the finished measurements on this were smaller than the normal finished measurements for a regular size 5, and that was across the board on the measurements. So make sure and check that before just casting on. Pick your size based off of how much ease you want. I really like how it fits. It drapes nicely on the shoulders. It has a little bit of boxiness to it, but not too much at the waist. So a couple of things about this pattern that I think makes it a great project for a beginner in color work, especially a beginner in knitting color work flat, is that it is mosaic. So what that means is you are never going to be holding 2 yarns at the same time as you work a single row. You're slipping the stitches that you don't knit with one color, and then you're going to knit back down that row. You'll pick up the next color and knit down and back with the second color. You do start from the bottom and knit up, which is not my favorite. I like to be able to try it on and knit top down, but Andrea Mowry really prefers to design her drop shoulders this way, and so I've gotten used to sort of getting a formula figured out for how long I like to make them. She has 2 different sizes in length for this, a cropped version and a regular version. Now, I do want to say that because you have buttonholes on the back, it's not so simple to change the length unless you're comfortable with working out the math and adjusting where the buttonholes will be. So she has you pick up a specific number of stitches, which you achieve from knitting to a certain length. And you will then pick up your buttonhole, and on the the side that has the buttonholes in it, you're going to knit a certain number of stitches, work the 5-stitch buttonhole, and then work another number of stitches, knit the next buttonhole. If you adjust the length to whatever you would want it to be, the number of stitches you pick up is going to be different, and you will have to do the math to change up where the buttonholes are going to be so that they're evenly spaced. I just do want to mention that. Because of that, she did include 2 different sizes, a longer version and a cropped version. It's really not that difficult to be able to do the math and adjust the number of buttonholes, how they're evenly spaced, and I think that that's a good thing to have in your back pocket, because that's why we knit, right? We like to make things custom fit, exactly the length that we want them. That's one of the major adjustments that all of us make, is in length. So I would definitely, think about that before you got started. I also really appreciate that she does this a lot in her patterns. The shoulder shaping is done in the ribbing, and this means you do not have to do shoulder shaping in a colorwork pattern. That is major, y'all. If you're a newer knitter, you're not really comfortable keeping something in pattern while doing short rows, this takes all the guesswork out of it. You're just in one color ribbing, makes it so easy. You then do a 3 needle bind off at the shoulders, so you get a fun little visible faux seam, or I guess it's actually not a faux seam, it's a real seam. It is seamed right there. Then you're going to pick up for your sleeves, and you've just got these tiny baby sleeves that make for a super cute little boxy top. After knitting this and wearing it, I will say I recommend this pattern. I really enjoyed it. My only hesitation is the length and the buttonholes, but I feel like that's something that you can easily adjust just by looking up on YouTube how to do the math on buttonholes. You can work it out. You can work it out yourself even. It's not that difficult. I love the yarn that this was knit in. It was knit in Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino. I think that you could also do this in Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. I think another really fun option would be the Sonder Yarn Co. Fleece and Flax. I did receive some of this yarn. I love it, and I am about to start a shawl in it. In my opinion, this is a great time to use a special yarn because you don't have to purchase that much. Your overhead is going to be a little bit lower. Another option is from Knit Picks, the Comfy Fingering Weight yarn, which is 75% cotton and 25% acrylic, I believe. Another option is from Cascade, and it is the cotton socks yarn. So that's like 89-90% cotton. I think it's some weird number like 89%, and then 11% nylon. It's around $10 or $11 a skein, and I think those are 100-gram skeins. But I just have to say, I'm actually a huge fan of cotton merino. I love it so much. I'm knitting with it again right now in another project, and I think that that speaks for itself. So I personally do recommend Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino, and I think it creates a super fun, nice, lightweight but drapey knit. Y'all know I love to create an outfit. So I went through my fabric stash, and I actually had not even 2 yards left of this really fun linen from Blackbird Fabrics. This was only, I want to say this was like 1.5 yards, maybe a little bit more than that. But it was a wide fabric. It was about 54 inches. I didn't have that much left, and I wasn't sure what to do with it. And I was thinking I might make some Pomona pants. And I went to lay out my pattern piece to see if I had enough fabric, and I did not even have close to it on the length. So I thought, well, maybe I can make some shorts. I just want to tell y'all though, if you do not have a lot of fabric and you want to try to eke some pants out, Style Arc is your place to go. The bob pants and the berry pants have a very, very similar shape and construction, and I can use very little yardage, like 1.5 yards if it's wide enough, and if it's a solid. If it's a print, it's a whole nother ball game of trying to match it up, and you have to only do it a certain way. But if you're not too picky about the grain, if you're not a perfectionist, which I'm not always, you can really make a little bit of fabric go a long way with those two patterns. So I decided to make the berry pants. I think that these are so fun. If you notice at the very bottom, it has a tapered leg that actually has a little bit of a pleat in the bottom. And very simple pockets. I love having some pockets. And it has a faux fly at the front as well. So I was able to make the size 18 or 20. I think these were the size 18, but I was able to make these out of a very small amount of fabric, and I thought they looked really cute together as this combo. I'm really, really loving it. I'm so glad that I have those pants pattern, either the berry or the bob, whatever I'm feeling, to be able to use up what I have left of fabric, or if I maybe snag some remnants. Like sometimes I'll get 1.8 meters of remnants from Blackbird fabric on a major sale, and I know if nothing else I can make a pair of bobs out of them. So highly recommend that sewing pattern. They're not difficult, and I personally love the fit of them as well. Just make sure you pay attention to the finished measurement. I don't choose my size based off of the recommended measurement. Instead, I know how much ease I like in my hip, and I usually only like about 2 inches of positive ease in my hip for linen pants. Sometimes 3 or 4, but I don't like to go above that. I find that they then become way too big on my legs. Take a peek at everything, but that's how I personally like to pick my linen pants size. I also had a lot of fun pairing it with some shoes I was able to receive from the sponsor of today's video, and that is the Choose app. The Choose app is your daily drop of cool. Every day they add new small shops to their online store where you can find awesome deals, and often it's free shipping. One of them is Mohinder shoes. They're on there pretty frequently, and I was able to snag some of their braided leather loafers. I love them, and I wear them with absolutely everything. The best part is you can get $20 off your first purchase by using the code YoungFolkKnits. You can follow the link in my description and it should add the code for you, but if not, you can just type that in. Thank you so much, Choose App, for sponsoring this portion of the video. Alright y'all, I have to tell you, I'm in a place I haven't been in a long time, and that is a test-free place. I have no deadlines, and I just want to clarify, first of all, I don't mean to sound like I'm complaining about tests, because I enjoy tests, and so a lot of times I sign up because I want to sign up. Tests are a lot of fun, and sometimes when I'm right in the middle of it, I'm like, why did I impose this deadline on myself? But I always love it in the end, and I have a lot of fun testing it with other knitters. I went through my projects and I just thought, there's this freedom I don't know what to do with. I can knit on anything that I want to knit on. What do I want to knit on? I'm not gonna bore you with all of that, but I will show you one other project that I actually cast on last week, and I've been a little bit addicted to knitting it as well. So this is the Jenny Cardigan, which is another pattern by Andrea Mowry. I'm right in the middle of a row. That was smart, wasn't it? But this is what I've got so far. This is a DK weight, big, cozy, comfy cardigan that is almost like a jacket. It is oversized with a big shawl collar, wrap up, big, comfy hug of a sweater. I feel like this is just such a beautiful color. I think it's going to be very similar to the color of my eyes. It matches everything in my house. I can stand by any of my decor and I won't clash. I have a feeling this is going to get a lot of love. Hey everyone. It is a very rainy day today. It has been raining non-stop for the past 3 or 4 days. My hair is really wet. I've been outside, so please forgive my appearance. I pulled out 5 or 6 different whips and I spent a day knitting on each of them and trying to decide where I was in the moment, what I wanted to focus on. And I picked a few different things that are really calling to me right now. And the first one is the Jenny cardigan. I am using a very woolly wool. So this is by Spincycle yarns and it is the metamorphic base. It is 100% fine wool, 400 yards of DK weight. This is a big, juicy, plump skein. 400 yards of DK weight yarn. That is a lot for a single skein of DK. It's this lovely green color, and it is a real sage green. So there's a lot of gray undertones to it, but it also has that hint of yellow green, while at the same time, that blue-gray undertone. So it's a really perfect sage green. And I think it's gonna match my entire house. Look at the green everywhere. This is great news. I love the fact that it has some very simple texture to it. It is mostly stockinette, but it has a row every 6, something like every 6 rows. There's just a little textured row, which is very simple, made with knits and purls, and easily memorizable. So I think it's gonna be a lovely potato chippy knit. My hands need some wool. They've been flaring up a little bit, especially my right hand. And I know that that means I need to knit with wool for a while. So I'm now at the point where I need to split for sleeves. The next row I knit, I will be splitting for sleeves. I think it's just gonna be so cozy. I can't even explain the squish factor of this yarn. I actually got this yarn on sale. It's a little bit pricey. It's not a little bit, it's a lot pricey for me in general, and I would not normally be able to purchase this for a full sweater quantity. I will say this though, your price as far as Spincycle yarns goes is pretty good compared to the other skeins that you could buy, like Dyed in the Wool or Dream State, because for one skein you're getting 400 yards. That's a lot of yardage. That's like a double DK skein of normal hand-dyed yarn. So that does help. But Spincycle had a kit and it was on sale. They only had like one size left in the kit, and it was for a sweater that I wasn't interested in knitting. I don't even remember what the sweater was, but it had a mixture of Dyed in the Wool. Nope, it had a mixture of Dream State and this metamorphic color. And this gray-green color, the only way that you could get it was in the kit because they had sold out of it for their regular stock. So since they only had a little bit left and it was on sale and I was desperate for this color, I actually emailed them and I asked if there was any way that they would split it up for me and let me just buy the metamorphic and not the Dream State. And they very kindly said yes. So I was able to purchase that yarn a few months ago, and I have been very anxiously awaiting casting on the Jenny sweater. So the other whip that I got back out is my Poly Cardigan by Savory Knitting, or Amy Christoffers. This is a recently released mosaic knitting pattern, and it features a really fun quilt star motif. I absolutely love this. I think it's so much fun. And I was really thrilled to be able to use some yarn from North Bay Fiber. So this yarn is gifted, and it is the Heritage DK. It's a Targhee wool, it's woolen spun, it is light and lofty. Oh, it's fluffy, bouncy. It's everything a natural wool lover would want in a yarn. It's so much fun, and it is what I'm knitting for the YFK Mosaic Mayhem Knit Along. This is a knit along that I am so happy to be hosting, and it's all about mosaic knitting patterns. So it started September 1st, 2024, and it's running through the end of the year, December 31st. Whips are welcome. any pattern that is mosaic, slip stitch, anything like that. We're super laid back. It's all good. And to participate, all you need to do is post a picture on Instagram, and you can tag me and use the hashtag YFKMosaicMayhemKAL, or you can post in the Ravelry thread, which I will link in the description below. I also want to mention that if you have not already signed up for my newsletter, now is a really good time to do that. I'm going to link that in my description. I don't think you're going to want to miss what's coming up soon, because we have some very fun interviews with great mosaic knitting pattern designers like Andrea Mowry, Rebecca Clow from the Crayabea, and more. So make sure and sign up for the newsletter, and that way whenever those articles go live, you will be notified immediately. These articles are going to be released on my website during the knit along, as well as some winners are going to be randomly chosen during the knit along to receive a free pattern. That will happen a few times, probably each month, and then there's going to be some prizes at the end, which are extra fun. So make sure and check out all the details in my Mosaic Mayhem video if you want to get all the nitty gritty. Let's see, what have I been reading? I am really loving a book I discovered, the audiobook specifically, and it is called Death and Croissants, which is written and read by Ian Moore. I believe Ian Moore is a radio show host or something of the kind in the UK, and that made him believe that he was uniquely qualified to read his own book for the audiobook version. And I gotta give it to him, he did a really good job. This book is a mystery, but it is absolutely hilarious. It's a total riot, and it's all about a British expat in France who owns a B&B, and his interactions with lovely French gorgeous woman, of course, and the hilarity that ensues. He also loves his hens, his chickens, so of course I love him. I do adore chickens. There is a murder, and he does want to stay out of it until one of his hens gets it, and then he is all in. I gotta say, this book is uproariously funny and very light, very cozy. There is some mystery. I kind of saw it from a mile away, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. The best part is there's a whole series, so when it's over, I can move on to the next book. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoy videos like this, then give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on any future video content. I would love to hear what y'all are knitting on. Let me know in the comments because it gives me some great ideas. And until next time, happy knitting, y'all.